2 years. Right. The stuff they give us. Banks, moistens. Big points. It's to get the recorder out to pay and warranty debt. From that, you said free, but that's just.
No, just like the city of Phillips.
Next week.
And you gotta report it tomorrow.
Yeah. All right, we gotta get ready to go there. Are we tuned in?
It's also a PDF.
Oh.
2 minutes, or a minute and a half.
Minute and a half.
Doesn't matter, it's asking all of us. Get the single A closer. Yeah. But totally fraud.
This was like exactly.
Three blocks.
Like, right,
Why did it look so special?
But. It's like. Well.
This is.
I think we did like a. Well, there's. Right. I think I went through that, we took everybody, hopefully it's a 5. Yeah.
The second, I'll do it, stop.
If I just started watching, taking athletes, yeah.
Yeah. I think you're the first 5, right?
Yeah.
It's like,
Yeah.
So I think it's 6.
yeah. So it wasn't.
6, 7, 8, I forget.
8 will probably take. As much
Yeah.
as all the other things.
Yeah. Go ahead,
Like-
record, Brandon.
Are we plugged in and?
We are good to go.
Rock.
Okay, now that Mike Shannon's here, I'd like to call the Development Commission meeting for October 12th, 2023 to order with our usual pledge of allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag
And to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay. Okay, case number 1, Z23-038, 5364 to 5366 Trayview Road. Is the applicant here? Okay, please call them up. Have the staff presentation. Z23.
Z23-038. 1.44 acre site consists of 2 parcels. The eastern parcel developed with four single unit dwellings in the ARLD apartment residential district. The western parcel is developed with a natural gas regulation facility in the R1 residential district as allowed by ordinance 2712-92, CV 92-089. The requested I institutional district will conform the existing facility and allow for expansion onto the ARLD portion of the site. Concurrent CV 23-110 has been filed to bear the rear yard requirement. That request will be heard by City Council one off considered at this Development Commission meeting. North of the site is a commercial garage in the M2 manufacturing district. East of the site are single unit residential developments in the ARLD apartment residential district. South of the site is a detention pond and storage supply in the LM Limited Manufacturing District. West of the site is an extended stay hotel in the CPD Commercial Plan Development District. The site is located within the planning boundaries of the Treview-Roberts Area Plan, which recommends utilities and railroads and commercial community land uses at this location. The site is located within the boundaries of the Far West Side Area Commission, whose recommendation is for approval. The Columbus Multimodal Thoroughfare Plan identifies the portion of Brennan Road as a suburban commuter corridor requiring 120 feet of right of way. For City Department's recommendation is for approval. The requested I institutional district will allow the expansion of an existing natural gas delivery facility. The proposed use is not consistent with the plan's recommendation on the southern parcel. However, staff supports the proposal as it will allow for the expansion of an existing facility with the addition of appropriate landscaping, buffering, and fencing as provided with the site plan commitment and CV 23-110.
Any questions, comments? Traffic, Kim?
Traffic management is supportive of this rezoning application. It is noted that a portion of the referenced fencing, part of the concurrent council variance is within the existing right of way. We're working with Division of Infrastructure Management and the applicant to determine what will be needed to allow that fencing to right of way.
Okay. Maybe they need to pay some taxes. Kathy, were you thrilled?
We have no comments on this, thank you.
Okay, planning?
No further comments.
Any other comments or questions? The applicant is here. Is anyone here to speak regarding case number 1? Would you come up to the microphone, sir? Give us your name for the record and add anything you'd like to add beyond what the staff came up with.
Yeah, I'm Josh Diaz from Kleinfelder here for NiSource, Columbia Gas Ohio. I think we pretty much covered all of our plans.
Okay, we have staff approval and the area commission approval.
And
Yes.
just one question in that, on the, site plan, the housing is adjacent to that short piece that doesn't seem to have the same sort of landscaping assigned to it, and I was just, the southern piece does. Unless I'm reading this wrong, which is entirely possible on the plan or not. So, just, am I missing something? Because it looks like the housing is what's adjacent on that short side that doesn't seem to have
All the way to
trees and things. Yeah, where it looks like the line is, the pipeline. If I'm, again, I don't know if that's what I'm looking at or not. So there's a sidewalk, am I missing that, or is there not really a buffer there? I mean, it's a board-on-board fence, which I get, and if the neighbors aren't complaining, I guess I shouldn't either, but I'm just kind of looking.
I think this is mostly underground. Is it true this is underground?
There'll be some valving above ground, but most of the pipe's underground.
Okay.
The building, if you see the major, but most of the pipe there in the center of the southern portion is enclosed in a building.
Yeah, I guess I was just looking at the landscaping that's on that south side and the east side. This doesn't seem to have that, and that's what's next to houses,
And what?
correct?
This
See, this is,
piece of
yeah, so this is that
east side.
portion, yeah, so that's abutting the house, and there's, I guess it's a board on board, so that's
Pretty
probably
much opaque.
sufficient, opaque.
And-
Okay,
All right.
all right,
And
I will shut up.
you do agree that you need to work with traffic regarding the chain link fence to come up to an acceptable resolution.
Yeah, we can.
Okay, I need a motion to vote on this case. So moved. Ron says the motion. Is anybody else writing co-pilot? Okay, please. All right, all those in favor of voting, say aye.
Aye.
Please call roll.
Maria Conroy,
Yes.
John Ingwerson.
Yes.
Ken Mukwe,
Yes.
David Carey,
Yes.
Chair Fitzpatrick.
Yes, you are approved.
Thank you.
Okay, case number 2. Z23-049, 919 Old Henderson Road.
The 2.07 acre site is comprised of one parcel developed with an office conference center and CPD Commercial Plan Development District. The requested AR1 apartment residential district permits multi-unit residential uses. A previous council variance was submitted in 2019 to permit multi-unit residential development at this location, but was never approved by city council. North of the site is a City of Columbus utility building in the M1 manufacturing district. South and west of the site are warehouse and manufacturing uses in the M1 manufacturing district. East of the site is railroad right of way. Concurrent CB 23-088 has been filed demonstrating a 69 unit apartment complex with variances to building and parking setbacks, parking space size, and perimeter yard. That request will be heard by city council and will not be considered at this development commission meeting. The site is within the planning boundaries of the Olentangy West Area Plan, which recommends warehouse flex land uses at this location. The site is located within the boundaries of the Northwest Civic Association, whose recommendation is in your supplemental DC packet, and it is for approval. The proposed AR1 apartment residential district will permit redevelopment of the site with multi-unit residential uses. The concurrent council variance includes a site plan demonstrating 69 apartment units and a density of 33.33 dwelling units per acre. Although the proposed use is inconsistent with the Olentangy West Area Plan's land use recommendation of warehouse flex, staff recognizes that the AR1 request is consistent with the emerging development and zoning pattern in the area. Additionally, staff recognizes that the request does not add incompatible uses to the area, and therefore we are in approval.
Okay, any questions or comments? Dan, traffic issues?
Traffic management supports this rezoning application and working with the applicant on their site plan and favor and council variance.
Okay,
We have no comments.
no. Planning?
No further comments.
Okay, is anyone here to speak regarding case number 2? We have one speaker. Dave, you want to let them go first?
Sure. Thanks, dear.
Okay, Area Commission,
Yeah,
do you want to say something?
I do.
Okay.
Dave,
We'll hear you first and then we'll bring Dave back.
Monica Tuttle, I'm with Northwest Civic Association. We ultimately, the Northwest Civic recommends approval of this. It was a close vote. One thing that we are concerned about in our area, although this seems to be an appropriate place for housing, we are losing additional small warehouse space, and that is limited throughout the city. And so we just want to bring that to light and kind of keep that in the back of your mind, that we don't want to continually lose all of our small warehouse.
Okay.
Thank you.
Good comment, thank you. David? Anything you want to add to the,
I'll just say David Hodge, attorney for the applicant. It's been a relatively clean process for us. This is along a stretch that all of you are familiar with. You've seen the other development by Preferred Living there at Kenny and Henderson. This is just down the way, Old Henderson from that, kind of at the end of the road there. An appropriate adaptive reuse of a property that is heading towards functional obsolescence. So a good proposal, and we would respectfully request the Development Commission's recommendation of approval on the City Council.
can you keep the flag lady in business with this one?
I don't know that we'll be having any impact on anybody.
Okay, well, you did on one nearby. Okay, I need a motion to vote. So moved. Second, okay. All those in favor of voting? Right. Please call the roll.
John Ingberson? Yeah. Dave LaQuinn?
Yeah.
David Carey?
Yes.
Maria Conroy? Chair Fitzpatrick?
Yes, fine, okay. You're approved.
Thank you.
5-0. Okay, case number 3. D22-094, 980 Old Henderson Road.
The 0.97 acre site consists of one parcel developed with an office building in the C2 commercial district. The applicant is requesting the AR3 apartment residential district to permit a multi-unit residential development with a maximum density of 41.4 units per acre. The north of the site is a multi-unit residential development in the AR1 apartment residential district. To the east is a cleaning establishment in the M1 manufacturing district. To the south is a residential instruction establishment in the M1 manufacturing district. To the west is a multi-unit residential development in the AR2 apartment residential district. Concurrent CV 22-142 has been filed to vary perimeter parking lot landscaping, parking setback lines, minimum number of parking spaces, building lines, maximum side yard requirements, and minimum side yard permitted. The request will be heard by City Council or not be considered at this Development Commission meeting. The site is located within the planning boundaries of the Olentangy West Area Plan, which recommends community mixed-use land uses at this location. The site is located within the boundaries of the Northwest Civic Association, and from a late edit, The recommendation is for approval. The Columbus Multimodal Thoroughfare Plan identifies this portion of Henderson Road as a suburban commuter corridor requiring 120 feet of right-of-way from center line. City Department's recommendation is for approval. The requested AR3 apartment residential district will allow multi-unit residential developments. The request is consistent with both the Olentangy West Area Plan for Land Use Recommendation and the adjacent residential uses. The requested AR3 district will not add incompatible uses to the area and meets the city's objective for an increase in housing development.
Okay, any questions or comments? Dan?
Minor correction to the staff report, the multimodal thoroughfare plan requires 60 feet center line from Henderson, that's already existing. We're supportive of this rezoning application, are working with the applicant on the unit site plan variance.
Okay,
We have no
Kathy?
comments.
No? And Chris?
Planning is in full support, noting that the applicant has been working with the existing commercial tenant to retain them in City of Columbus with our economic development division.
Okay. Where?
They're working on it,
Some,
so I understand.
okay, is there anybody to speak regarding case number 3? Again, we have the area commission. You're getting some exercise, Dan.
Monica Tuttle with Northwest Civic Association. Again, we are in support. It was a close vote, but we are in support of this rezoning. However, we do have some concerns, mainly about pedestrian traffic along Old Henderson. This is considered a sister site to the parcel that was just rezoned, and yet there is no connecting sidewalk. The properties in between do not have sidewalks along Old Henderson, and they are owned by other businesses. So there isn't a way that this applicant is able to provide sidewalks connecting. And so we do have some concerns with that regard. And then again, losing some additional, in this case, it would be office space, which is a recommendation along Old Henderson as part of the Northwest plan, or I'm sorry, the Olentangy plan.
Okay,
Thank you.
thank you. Okay, David, now, sidewalks.
Well, if I'm not mistaken, we are showing some pedestrian facilities along the frontage, our frontage of this on Old Henderson Road. It's not a whole lot of frontage there. It's kind of a rectangular piece, but we are, we'll work with traffic management to fulfill our obligations there out along the Old Henderson Road frontage. I believe that there's also a sidewalk on the site there that you see to the west, which we'll tie into. But we won't be going off site in any direction with that pedestrian facility.
So if I could just point out, I'm sorry, we're talking about this and then the other parcel is all the way over there.
Right.
Just to give
Right.
orientation.
Gotcha. Okay. If somebody else came in and improved the properties to the east, would you be amenable to connecting sidewalks?
Yeah, as those properties come in for development, they will certainly come through a process at the city and be obligated to provide those sidewalks along their frontage. The property to the east is a little bit challenging. It's an old dry cleaner, and we all know what happens at old dry cleaner properties. So eventually something will happen there, but we don't know by who or when.
Yeah, they're difficult for sure. Okay, any other comments or questions? Okay.
Just a question, I don't know, to directly to Dan, or maybe you. Without a new tenant coming in or any improvement on the site, could the city impose sidewalk on the current tenants?
Well, I usually see projects where there's a longer sidewalk needed and it's a sidewalk to nowhere until someone improves in the direction where the sidewalk can go. So you can either say, we'll put it in and then somebody will join it later, or you can say, make a promise to put it in when the time comes that there's a network of sidewalk.
I don't think that's traffic's position these days.
Put it in.
They put it in or pay the waiver.
Well, how do you feel
We're
about?
putting it in. We're putting it
A motion to vote.
So move.
And then or we have rolling, thank you. Okay, all those in favor of voting, say aye. Aye. Please call roll.
Ken McQuaid,
Yes.
David Carey,
Yes.
Maria Conroy,
Yes.
John Engliston,
Yes.
Chair Fitzpatrick.
Yes, you are approved.
Thank you all.
Okay, case number 4, Z23-040, 8269 Market Exchange Drive.
The 3.83 acre site consists of one parcel developed with a strip mall in the LC3 Limited Commercial District. The requested LC4 Limited Commercial District will allow for additional permitted commercial uses. North of the site is a multi-unit apartment development in the LARLD Limited Apartment Residential District. South of the site is an undeveloped parcel in the LAR12 Limited Apartment Residential District. East of the site is a landscaping business in the LC4 Limited Commercial District. West of the site is a strip mall in the CPD Commercial Plan Development District. The site is within the planning boundaries of the Far North Area Plan, which recommends community commercial land uses at this location. The site is located within the boundaries of the Far North Columbus Community Coalition, whose recommendations for approval. The limitation text includes use restrictions and supplemental development standards that address building setbacks, height restrictions, vehicular and pedestrian access, and right-of-way requirements. The Columbus Multimodal Thoroughfare Plan identifies this portion of the Zell Road as a suburban commuter corridor requiring 120 feet of right-of-way. At this time, the city department recommendation is for approval. The requested LC4 Limited Commercial District will allow expanded permitted commercial uses while revitalizing the existing building. The proposal is also consistent with the land use recommendations of the Far North Area Plan. Upon receiving a revised limitation text showing pedestrian access into the site, staff is now approved.
Okay, now on approval. Any questions or comments? Dan
No traffic issues.
and Kate?
No recreation for comments.
Fred.
As noted, the revised limitation text provides for pedestrian access into the site, and so planning is in full swing.
All right, and that text is dated today's date. Is that correct? Okay, is anyone here to speak regarding case number 4? No one's here to speak. Michael, what would you like to add to the staff's presentation?
Very briefly, Mr. Chairman, members of the commission, Mike Shannon on behalf of the applicant. We didn't realize fairly late in the process that sidewalk was actually a condition of approval. And I apologize to staff for not being able to get back to them. However, my clients have been and still are in Jerusalem and have been out of pocket. So I went ahead and exercised discretion to agree to that change. Thank you.
Okay, any other comments? Okay, need a motion to include the revised text dated 10/12/23. So moved. Second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Now we need a motion to vote. And please call the roll.
David Carey,
Yes.
Maria Conroy,
Yes.
John Engliston,
Yes.
Ken McQuaid,
Yes.
Chair Fitzpatrick.
Yes, we're approved.
Thank you for your time and consideration.
Okay. Case number 5. Z23-050, 7373 Pengay Drive.
In your supplemental packet, you'll find several letters of opposition that I've received in the last couple months, basically stating the concerns with public connections, sidewalks, removal of trees on site, and just overall density in relation to the single unit dwellings to the north. The site consists of two undeveloped parcels owned in the LM Limited Manufacturing District and LR2 Limited Residential District. The requested AR12 apartment residential district will permit a multi-unit residential development at this location. To the north are single-unit dwellings in the LR2 Limited Residential District. To the south are medical clinics and offices in the LM Limited Manufacturing District. To the east is a city park in the LI Limited Institutional District. And to the west is the communication/radio tower in the M2 Manufacturing District. The sites within the boundaries of the far north area plan, which recommends low to medium density residential land uses for the northern parcel and warehouse flex land uses for the southern parcel. Concurrent CV 23-091 has been filed demonstrating a 90-unit townhouse style residential development and includes a variant for fronting. That request will be heard by City Council and will not be considered by this Development Commission meeting. The site is located in the boundaries of the far north Columbus Communities Coalition, whose recommendation is for approval. The requested AR12 apartment residential district will permit a multi-unit residential development with concurrent council variant CV 23-091, demonstrating a 90-unit townhouse style residential development. While the proposal is not consistent with part of the far north area plan's land use recommendation for warehouse flex, it is consistent with low to medium density residential land use recommendation for the site's northern parcel, and is consistent with adjacent residential development. With commitment of additional landscaping and buffering along the northern property line to protect the existing landscape mound staff is supportive of this request. Additionally, staff notes the proposal meets the city's objectives for providing more housing in the area. Therefore, City Department's recommendation is for approval. I'm happy to answer any questions.
Any questions?
Just, I do have a question.
Okay.
Well, one traffic will weigh in here.
All right, well, let's just go right to traffic right now.
The traffic impact study is pending review for this application. The review is actively ongoing, but not quite complete yet. One thing we are going to ask for with that review is a commitment to provide a pedestrian connection in the northeast area of the site to the adjacent park. The form of that commitment would be incorporated into the council variance and then referenced within the ordinance for the rezoning application.
So that pedestrian access is part of the variance, not part of the order.
Depends on your perspective. And the reason for that.
We like
is
this.
The reason for that request is that there's an existing sidewalk network in the neighborhood. And the city recently begun a project to construct shared use path along Worthington Woods Boulevard in the vicinity of this site. And so every unit, would be connected by sidewalk to the shared use path. However, the way the neighborhood is laid out, without that connection northeast, then you're sort of doubling part of your distance to travel to get to the main road. And so putting it in the northeast portion, minimizes the distance you have to travel to get to Worthington Woods, and the chances of people choosing to travel along Blue Drive, which does not have curb or sidewalk between the site and Worthington Woods.
Okay. Kathy.
We're supportive of the work. We would love to see where possible. We see that there are trees being added to the plan, but where possible, if there's the ability to retain some of the existing trees, we feel it would benefit the community and again, meet the needs of the community, the Columbus urban tree community.
Okay. Chris.
Planning is no further comments.
Okay, is anyone here to speak? Yes, John?
Daniel. So it's a loop, basically, with a single drive.
Yes, so it's a private street loop with a single drive connection to Pingway toward the west and changes to, I think, different street name as it moves to the north.
And then the little piece that goes up to the street above is is the proposed pedestrian.
The purple pedestrian crossings are here in the southeast of the site, with another one proposed here in the northeast connecting to the park that's located over here.
But
But
there's,
on that other slide, there was, is that the property line that goes up there?
it's a
Where you
weird
have-
little,
Yes,
Yeah.
Okay. Just curious.
yeah.
Okay, but you actually have two loops.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, where the clear is. Is anyone here to speak regarding this application? Case number 5. Okay, no one's here to speak?
Rebecca Mott with the Plank Law Firm with an office address of 411 East Town Street, Columbus, Ohio. Just a little bit of background related to the pedestrian connections as well as the tree preservation area on the north property line. We are proposing a 90-unit townhouse development here. This site is currently zoned LM2, which would allow manufacturing at a height of 60 feet. And so, of course, we're not asking for a height of variance, so these units would be under 35 feet. When we went before city staff with the staff review letter, one of the first comments that traffic had was to take our public streets within the internal parts of the development and make them private. So we did that, and that is why we have a council variance, because with the requirement to take the street from public to private, these townhouse units by code have to be on public. So that's the variance. Number 2, when we went to the Far North Area Communities Coalition, we had some neighbors who had comments and concerns related to the project. They live to the north, they're in the residential community there. And to the south of us and to the west of us is all manufacturing. To the east is a park. So this is a fantastic transitional use as residential, medium density residential to the lower density residential up north. However, the neighbors know that there's a mounding that exists on the north property line. It's 2 to 4 feet of height of mound and a lot of mature trees. We were already going to preserve as much of that tree line as possible. That's an amenity to both communities, but we were going to have some impacts to it with our streets. And we also showed a northeast pedestrian connection similar to the one you see on the site plan. And we also showed a pedestrian connection on the little sliver of property that is ours up to Boswell Drive into the community to the north. The neighbors did not like that connection to Boswell Drive, and they did not also like the one on the northeast side of the property. And we also did a few more things for the neighbors. We were able to reduce the width of our private streets from 40, which was the original width, to 30, shifting our site down and preserving more of the tree and mounding area on the north property line. In addition, we'll have a fence on the west and south property line as a buffer from the manufacturing. And we had started to remove those sidewalk connections because that's what the neighbors really wanted. Now, Far North Area Communities Coalition voted 8-1 in support of the project. And they were deferring to the neighbors related to remove the sidewalk connections. We're happy to provide the northeast sidewalk connection as you've seen on the plan. If staff could flip back to the site plan, we can build that plan in with the pedestrian connection to the northeast, but we still will not provide the one to the Boswell Drive because that one was really bogged out by the neighbors. But we're happy to build it with the northeast connection. We're happy to build it with just the southern rear connection around the stormwater pond. It's the will of the Development Commission as it relates to that request. But the Far North said that they would not change their vote depending upon this sidewalk issue. So we're all good there. And I don't think anyone is here from the neighborhood to speak on this, but we're happy to build the project any way you see fit. We also added 25 more evergreen trees to supplement the north property line as we do have some impacts to it with any development. But we want to preserve that as well. And you'll see a little line on the northern property line. It says there's about 20 to 25 feet. It's kind of a non-disturbance zone. So we're happy to have that plan submitted with the council variance application as a committed to site plan.
Okay.
Yes.
how many feet between the, there's a pretty good distance as I'm looking at that between the units and the housing,
You're
correct?
right.
Is that
Yes.
guesstimate?
Yes. Our units are well over, they're over 100 feet setback from the property line to the north because there's a street that would divide our housing units
Right.
that are in the middle there of the streets. And all of that tree buffer zone up north will be north of the drive.
Right.
We also removed a sidewalk along the northern part of the private drive that used to, kind of like you see the two gray sidewalks all around private drive except the north. We removed that as well, so we would not have as much impact to that northern mound and tree line. So we think we've done everything possible to preserve that tree line as well as listen to all the parties and the stakeholders. We've also added pedestrian crosswalks in our private drive to connect to the sidewalk system on Pingway Drive. We're adding the sidewalk connection on our frontage on Pingway Drive as well.
All right, we do have a landscaping buffering specialist available to us. Kathy, which concept regarding pedestrian access do you favor in park permits?
From ease of access, it makes sense to just have that northern piece. As far as access into the park, I think that in reality, I appreciate you, Rebecca, kind of describing some of this is a little more updated than some of the work that I've seen. So I know you guys have done an awful lot of work on it, so thank you for the buffer. As long as we can get direct access from the homes over to the rest of the community and into the park, that's great. And the ability to be able to protect as many of those trees and not sacrifice them to try and have some long and drawn out way to have people get access is good, because when in doubt, provide the shade cover, because there's really not enough in this neighborhood. It's pretty densely populated.
Okay, very good. Someone has their hand up back there.
We have Sheena comment, no from the neighborhood is here. I'm here from that neighborhood, and I'd like to speak if I can.
Okay, were you here before when I asked for?
No, I'm sorry, and I've never been to one of these meetings before.
Okay.
This is an adventure for me as well.
Well, come up and have your adventure. There's the microphone.
I want to speak to the tree line. Now, it looks
Well,
like,
give us your name.
I'm sorry, my name is Joseph Baca. I live on the far west unit house right there where they're building on the curve there. I live in that unit right there. Okay. And me and my family and others are concerned about the tree line, as she stated, but how much of a buffer is going to be between the fences that go down all the way on those houses and where the development line ends or begins, depending on how you look at it. So it looks like this plan has been adjusted versus the previous plan, which I have a copy of, that was laid out. So maybe some of those concerns have been met. I'm not positive of that. And I don't know how many feet are between the fence line and the property line or the street line where it's built. So maybe that's been met, I don't know. Second of all, being on this far end, I'm concerned about the construction, the overlapping construction, not just for my neighborhood, but for my property as well, because the curve comes around and it wasn't built right in the first place. It's too slick, it's too fast. I have a fire hydrant in my yard and it gets knocked out regularly in wintertime. So it wasn't built right in the first place. The other concern was, well, we had concern about the noise, but I guess that's inevitable. There's no way to avoid that. But then other concerns that were voiced at the initial meeting we had a month or so ago, I can't remember the date, but she was there and a representative from the builder and a bunch of neighbors showed up, about 50 of them. They were concerned about emergency vehicles and the ability to access, being that this construct and this property and the goal of the builder feels like, at least in my opinion, it's crammed in there. It's too much. 90 units seems to be too much. And I've lived there for 20 years. So I understand what they're trying to do. I just wonder if it's too much, if you're trying to build a street or a looping street and 90 units, which would be responsible for also for school buses and so forth like that, maybe even city buses, I don't know. And they were correct. There's no sidewalk. When you come back down Pingay to the west into Loop Run, there's no sidewalk there. It's all underdeveloped. It's just open land. There's no sidewalks on the other side. There's no curbs. There's light manufacturing there. There's a right across from me, there's a land for a cell tower, and there's a lab of some kind, and there's Servpro, which is a business that's right there that just improved their property. So I feel like I'm speaking for myself and others that maybe 90 units may be too much, maybe too much. I feel like if a 90 gets approved, it's going to be just a tight fit.
All right, let's bring our applicant back up. We appreciate your input.
Should I move?
Yep. Better have the microphone. This site that you're taking on was previously zoned for manufacturing, so
Yes.
you're headed in the right direction. to
Yes.
begin with. You have a loop road, 30-foot curb
30.
to curb.
Mhm.
So, and it's a loop, so it's connecting, so fire department, trash, school buses are. Dan, am I safe in saying that creates no issue?
Yeah, I'm not seeing the issue with emergency
Yeah,
access.
okay.
During our final site compliance plan, we'll have truck maneuvering plans that'll go to the city engineering department, and they would review those plans. We know that we've designed a site that engineering plan is gonna work in terms of fire truck maneuvering, fire responders access, and safe pedestrian and traffic access. Again, Mr. Moorhead stated we have a traffic study that's completed. It is within the city's purview right now, and it does have a conclusion there that there's no infrastructure improvements needed to the public right-of-ways that are warranted by this project. And of course, an LM2 district, like you mentioned, Chair, would be a higher intensity use. And these roads were put in to sort of know what that zoning was at the time of the land, even if vacant, what was the highest intensity use that could have been put here, and that's manufacturing. We are downsizing the zoning to a lower intensity use. Again, we think it's a good transitional use from the manufacturing to the south and west to the residential up north. And we are doing a great job preserving that land use, the tree preservation area, the mounding in the trees, as well as making low impacts on that area through removing sidewalks, taking that pedestrian connection out of that 20 to 25-foot buffer area that we've shown on the plan. And then, of course, our homes are more interior to the development and to the south. So we have quite a bit of a distance and setback from the residential homes to the north, who, like the neighbor said, have fences of their own on their property line.
And would it be safe to say that from your property, you have sidewalks that will connect with existing sidewalks that are already?
Yes, so our 2 sidewalks from our property will go into the park. We're actually going to go into the parklands and connect to the park pad there. That's like a basketball court or parking area. So that pedestrian connection will be there. In addition, we're building a frontage sidewalk on Peenway stubbed at our property line, but that will help with any future sidewalk plans that are constructed along the public right of way.
That was my question.
Yes.
Okay. All right, any other questions or comments? Yes, okay.
First of all, I think I commend you for the effort you've got to preserve nature. I don't want to say trees, preserve nature. But my question is more or less to that. When I look at the plan, it shows privacy reserved. Look, then my issue is one way in and one way out. Don't you have issue with that? One way into a neighborhood and then one way out, just in case there's something happens with that only one way.
That would typically be within the purview of executive fire, if they're the ones that are actually comment upon the design for having separate emergency access point. They'll have the opportunity to review this plan I don't believe that they're going to need a second access point into this, but ultimately they'll be the ones to take the cost as part of it.
Okay, I think we're ready to make a motion. You have a traffic study in progress. You're going
Yes.
to have some issues to settle between
Sure.
you two.
We'll resolve those.
But in terms of is this an appropriate land use or not appropriate, we will vote to that extent. I need a motion to vote. No move. Okay, we're still undefeated. All those in favor of voting, say aye. Okay, please call the roll.
Maria Conroy,
Yes.
Johnny Wilson,
Yes.
Ken Ukwe,
Yes.
David Carey,
Yes.
Chair Fitzpatrick.
Yes, you are approved.
Appreciate it.
And we're past 5 o'clock, so just
Just keep on rolling, all right? All right, let's go to case number 6. Z21. Dash 051, 5757 West Broad Street.
In your supplemental package, you will find a revised CPD text dated October 5th and CPD plan also dated October 5th. Text is correcting some typos that were in previous text, clarified some language, and discussed the removal of certain trees that were in the right of way. The site consists of 2 parcels zoned in the R rural district, developed with a trailer sale and service facility. The request, the CPD Commercial Plan Development District will permit a convenience store with retail fuel sales and outdoor display areas at this location. To the north is commercial development and fuel sales facility in the C4 Commercial and CPD Commercial Plan Development Districts. To the south is a single unit dwelling in the R2 Residential District and a parking lot in Prairie Township. To the east is a multi-unit development in the AR1 Apartment Residential District and a single unit dwelling in the R Rural District. To the west is a commercial building in the LC4 Limited Commercial District. The size within the boundaries of the Westland Area Plan, which recommends commercial for the northern parcel and high-density residential at 6 units per acre for the southern parcel. Plan also includes early adoption of Columbus citywide planning policies, sign guidelines. CPD text commits to a site plan and landscape plan and establishes appropriate uses and supplemental development standards that address access and outdoor display. Modifications to code standards for parking and building setback lines from both West Broad Street and Galloway Road are included in the request. The site is located within the boundaries of the Westland Area Commission, whose recommendation is for approval. The requested CPD Commercial Plan Development District will permit a convenience store with retail fuel sales and outdoor display areas at this location. Staff has moved to full support after receiving revised materials. Proposed building elevations have been consistent with CTPD design guidelines and includes pedestrian connection to the existing public sidewalk network. Staff recommendation is now approval.
Okay, thank you. Any questions? Dan, traffic issues here?
The traffic impact study has been approved for this application and the necessary commitments have been incorporated into the CPD text and site plan.
Okay. Kathy
There are no comments on this.
and Chris.
As noted, we moved full support with the revisions, as well as the elevations that we reviewed. We continue to encourage them to place the building closer to Broad, with the pumps behind, but do not condition our support.
Okay. Any questions of the rest of the staff? Is anyone here to speak regarding case number 6? West Broad Street. Nobody? Oh,
Yes, Brent Myers, Casto, 250 Civic Center Drive, Suite 500, Columbus, 43215. Here on behalf of the applicant. Nothing specific further to add, just like to thank staff for their support in this case. And specifically thank traffic management and working through the approved TIS. We're happy to answer any specific questions.
okay, any questions of the applicant? There's no one here to oppose you, so I think we just simply need a motion to vote.
Chair, we need a motion to include the updated materials.
Oh, yes, okay, I've got it down here. We need a motion to approve the 10/5/23 text and site plan. So moved. All those in favor? Okay, now, you've already given a motion to vote, so we'll go forward and call the roll.
Johnny Wilson,
Yes.
Caleb McQuaid,
Yes.
David Carey,
Yes.
Maria Conroy,
Yes.
Chair Fitzpatrick.
Yes, you are approved.
Thank you.
Very much. Okay, case number 7. Z 22-038-2474 McKinley Avenue.
44.88 acre site consists of 7 parcels developed with various storage buildings and junk salvage yards located in the M Manufacturing District and R Rural District. The request includes 2 subareas. AR1 Apartment Residential District for subarea A and ARLD Apartment Residential District for subarea B. North of this site is open space in the M Manufacturing District. South of the site is a contractor storage yard in the M Manufacturing District and railroad right-of-way. East of the site is the Scioto River. West of the site is city-owned property and manufacturing uses in the M Manufacturing District. Concurrent CV 22-053 has been filed and includes a site plan demonstrating 828 residential units in subarea A and an additional 72 units in subarea B, with variances to parking setback, aisle width, maneuvering, parking space size, and a reduction to the minimum numbers of parking spaces required. That request will be heard by City Council and will not be considered at this development commission meeting. The site falls within the McKinley Avenue corridor plan, which does not have a recommended land use for this location. The site is located within the boundaries of the West Scioto Area Commission, whose recommendation is for approval. The proposed AR1 and ARLD apartment residential districts will permit redevelopment of the site with multi-unit residential uses. The applicant is dedicating 18.46 acres of land for future park with intent of deeding that land to the city of Columbus. Additionally, a traffic impact study has been completed to the satisfaction of the Department of Public Service. Commitments from that study can be included in the site plan for concurrent CV 22-053. Staff supports the AR1 and ARLD districts as they are consistent with both the existing multi-unit residential developments to the north along McKinley Avenue and with the McKinley Avenue corridor plans support in the reduction of the amount of vacant, underutilized and or brownfield industrial commercial sites in this area. The proposal also meets the city's objective to increase housing development and therefore we are in approval.
Okay, any questions of staff?
I'm curious about this thing's pretty much in the floodway, is it not?
No, sir. It's Mike Wamacon with the ownership group. The only area that's impacted by the floodway is on the western portion of the site there. You can see where it's in blue.
And that's the blue hatch.
Yeah.
Over the yellow.
Correct.
And subarea A, right?
Correct.
Okay.
All right. Any other questions, comments? Dan, traffic issues?
Nothing to add to the staff report.
Kathy?
We're supportive of the rezoning and are working on an economic development agreement with economic development regarding combining efforts towards the parkland dedication property that's going to be conveyed. And we expect that'll be finished by the time this gets to council. So just kind of let you know that that's happening concurrently.
Okay.
Will that be the flood zone?
It essentially will be the flood zone, and a portion of that is a floodway in addition to flood.
That's the floodway?
It's, some portion of that is, so some portion of this.
Which they can't develop anyway.
This is going to be primarily for conservation in much of this.
Okay.
And this is to continue the efforts towards protection of our conservation of the riparian corridors, the river corridors, and where we've had some floodways and had some pulse needs to be able to convey and be able to store some water. This is kind of a way to do that. And so we're working with the owners to be really creative, to provide some recreational opportunities, but protect the natural areas that we have in the city.
Are you almost thrilled?
We're getting really close.
That's good.
Well, considering what's there.
Chris?
Planning has no further comments.
Okay. There is no one here to speak regarding this application. No hands back there. Michael, is anything else you want to add to the staff's presentation?
No, just want to say thank you to, city staff for their help in getting this, project moved forward.
Okay. Need a motion to, vote on this request.
So moved.
Okay, we're rolling. We got so many people record. All those in favor, voting. Aye. Okay, please call the roll.
Ed Woodway,
Yes.
David Carey,
Yes.
Maria Conroy,
Yes.
Johnny Wilson,
Yes.
Chair Fitzpatrick.
Yes, you're approved.
Thank you.
Okay, that brings us to case number 8. And that is Z23-028, 1045 East Rich Street.
In your supplemental packet, you will find several letters of opposition that I have received since this application came to the city's desk, as well as a memo from the Northeast or the Near East Area Commission, better explaining their reasoning for voting for disapproval on this particular project. Most of the concerns that were noted by the opposition letters were concerns with density, traffic, parking, and really just overall compatibility of the proposal with this location. The site consists of 6 undeveloped parcels zoned in the R3 residential district. The requested AR3 apartment residential district will permit a multi-unit residential development at this location. To the north are single-unit dwellings in the R3 residential district. To the south is undeveloped land in the ARLD apartment residential district. To the east are single-unit dwellings and undeveloped land in the R3 residential district. To the west are single-unit dwellings in the ARLD apartment residential district. Besides from the boundaries of the Near East Area Plan, which does not give a specific land use recommendation for the majority of the site. However, part of the site is recommended for higher density residential mixed-use corridor. Concurrent council variance CV 23-044 has been filed demonstrating a 38-unit apartment building and includes variances for driveway, landscaping and screening, vision clearance, lot coverage, building setbacks, rear yard, and a reduction in the minimum number of required parking spaces from 57 to 41. That request will be heard by City Council and will not be considered at this Development Commission meeting. The site is located within the boundaries of the Near East Area Commission, whose recommendation is for disapproval. The requested AR3 apartment residential district will permit a multi-unit residential development in conjunction with concurrent council variance CV 23-044 at this location. Staff are supportive of the request that is consistent with the residential nature of the surrounding neighborhoods, not considered to be an introduction of incompatible use. The proposal also meets the city's objectives for providing more housing in the area, and therefore City Department's recommendation is for approval.
Okay, any questions of the staff? Dan, traffic.
Traffic management and staff review comments have been addressed with the current site plan, and I'd be happy to answer any traffic related questions.
Okay. Any bump up?
Well, I've got a couple questions on this one, but.
Well, let's go on with Kathy
We have no comments.
and Chris.
Planning is in support. The land use plan, as noted, does not have for the majority of the site a recommendation. So we don't have a comment on the use in that area. The rest of it is recommended for higher density mixed use. So overall, we are supportive. We work with the applicant on some of the design and are in support.
Okay. Is now the time, or do you want to?
Sure.
Okay.
The question, two things really. What is the height? You at 35 feet?
Yes, Carter Bean Architects, 4400 North High Street, Suite 401, Columbus, Ohio, 43214. The flat roof is at 35 feet, yes.
I saw this, just obviously we're going to get your presentation, but I saw this at NEAC. And there's, in the words of Clara Peller, where's the beef? I mean, we got nothing to We got nothing but a zoning change, and this is a pretty significant building, and NEAC was not happy. So I would expect your presentation to address that, but it would be nice to have something to really look at to understand how this was going to go together when it's been conceptually presented to the neighborhood commission.
Yes, I understand, but as we have seen several other multi-unit residential developments tonight, we are here to discuss the land use and the requested zoning district, and those other items will be covered in the council variance. So that is kind of, I mean, you can obviously ask as many questions as you'd like, and if you would have other requests of them, so be it, but we are here to discuss the zoning change tonight.
Sure.
Okay, are you all the applicant? Okay,
Yeah,
is anyone, there's only one person here to speak. Are you here to speak?
If given the opportunity, please.
You want to speak, you will speak. Is there anything you would like to add to the staff's presentation before we have our speaker step up?
Yeah, please. My name is Brian Suter. I'm a consultant and advisor for the applicant. Address is 15 West Cherry Street, Columbus, Ohio. Would like to just sort of talk through how we got to where we are, and to your point, why there's maybe not more understanding of sort of how we got here from NEAC and from, getting obliterated as badly as we did in that meeting. Really what our intent here is pretty simple. It's 38 units on a parcel that is both owned by the applicant as well as some by the land bank. The land bank does support the change and this project going together. It's an aggregation of a few parcels. And really the intent for the building is to be attainable. The applicant, Claire and her brother Nate, are really anticipating and trying to get something that is sort of the middle, the middle market of rents. These are not going to be super luxury, and these are not going to be true capital A affordable. The idea is attainable. Bartenders, nurses, people in the neighborhood. And so the building is as efficient as we can make it. There's not a huge amount of parking. We're trying to do it, one per unit so that we at least cover that. And we make sure that people, have the accessibility to parking. But again, the building isn't trying to be extravagant. The challenge that we had at NEAC was that we are proposing this is going to go through the CRA, the tax incentive CRA of the city. And we're anticipating that we're going to have at least 30% of the units at 80% AMI. So we're going deeper than is sort of typical to actually present an attainable building. The NEAC, and there was two sort of separate factions here. NEAC was one, and the neighbors were another. NEAC's concern really was they wanted us to go deeper. They asked us to do 60% units. And we said to them, we can't do that. It's not financially feasible. Claire and her brother Nate are not affordable developers. It's not the business model that they have. And so we said, we're sorry, we have to agree to disagree. And that's where NEAC's concerns really were. The alternative, as we've heard from the neighbors, we've addressed some of these, is traffic, parking. There was some about, move-ins, move-outs. So we've been thoughtful to some of that stuff, have saved as many parking spaces along the street as we have. Thank you to the staff at the city to help us sort of figure that out. We've moved the building back a little bit off the street to try to take away some of that density or that height that's there. And we've also enclosed all of our parking except for a few parking spaces. And so try and keep that off of the street and within the building. So there's sort of those two pieces was we got, pretty much beat up at NEAC because of the affordability piece. We just couldn't agree to have the building be a true affordable building. And then I think the neighbors' concerns about traffic and parking, we've tried to address as much as we can. And I think, again, the city is supportive of the building and the traffic that we've, the parking and traffic that we've proposed.
Yeah.
You guys want to add anything?
Sure. Yes, we're actually parked at 1.18 spaces per unit, with one space per bedroom. This is a combination of 1 bedrooms, 2 bedrooms, and studios. We actually have 19 one-bedroom apartments, 7 two-bedroom apartments, 12 studio units. The 2 accessible units are at grade, and the rest are on floors 2 and 3. So, with 45 bedrooms, we have 45 parking spaces. The concerns about traffic had been met in a couple ways. We agreed to provide one-way circulation through our structured parking at grade, where we enter from the alley east of the building, where our surface spaces are. And all traffic exits along 22nd. And we feel that this provides more of a guarantee that less traffic is going to go back into the neighborhood and more traffic is going to flow down to Main Street. You know, that's really the artery there. There were also concerns about Rich Street already being somewhat congested because neighbors often utilize the on-street parking themselves. Dave Perry, who's not with us tonight, has explained several times that those properties were set up to have vehicular alley access from the rear, and many of the homeowners in that area have reclaimed that parking space that is intended for their lot on the rear to extend their backyard. So a lot of the parking by residents sure is on the street. And we fortuitously came to agreement with both traffic and fire. You know, we had to have an area for our aerial apparatus access to the building. 22nd has overhead power lines, so and it was narrow, so it wasn't viable. Rich Street was really the place to put it. The earlier concern was that if we were to locate the aerial apparatus zone on Rich, it's so wide that it would wipe out the on-street parking on both the north and south sides of the street. So what we've done is we've created this drop-off area. As Brian mentioned, we pulled the building south from Rich, which allows us to preserve the on-street parking on the north side of Rich. So we're losing 4 or 5 on-street parking spaces on the south side of Rich. But this also creates a no parking zone, a fire lane zone, where it will provide relief across that block for cars coming and going east-west along Rich. So, you know, we feel like we've addressed some concerns with some great concessions, and we think it's a great project for the neighborhood.
Open to questions, comments, thoughts, please.
Yeah, okay, sorry, go ahead. No, go ahead with your questions. We still have a speaker, so.
Yeah, this, I think, is a question for you all. Our staff report indicates that under the Near East area plan, part of this parcel is within an area designated for higher density residential and mixed use. One of the opposition letters says the opposite. I just pulled up the Near East area plan and I can't tell. I'm wondering if we could just get some clarity on that, either from staff or from the applicant.
Yeah, so the plan is old enough that the GIS technology perhaps is accurate. So the buffer off of Main Street that allowed for, or they call for higher density and mixed use extends slightly onto this site.
Okay.
At the southern end.
So by slightly, you mean less than?
I mean, it's, you know.
A few feet?
A few feet, right?
Okay.
And the majority of the neighborhoods off of the corridors do not have a specific land use recommendation.
Right. Okay, thank you.
The map that's on the screen now is helpful to show that multi zone does extend back to Rich. You can see immediately to the west there. So because of that, we feel like it's in character in our block as well.
John?
Oh, wait, let's hear the other.
Okay, we're gonna ask the speaker to come up, give her input, and then we'll call you back up to the table.
Thank you.
Hi.
Hi. Give us your name for the record.
Sure. My name is Katie Poland. I am the homeowner, this parcel here. So, yeah, there's a letter of opposition from myself and probably my husband in your packets. A quick thank you to Mr. Rose because, and actually I believe I spoke to you as well, Mr. Moorhead, but you have been very patient and very helpful in explaining this process, and I appreciate it. We are not opposed to development in our neighborhood. Lord knows our city has a lot of people coming in and we need some homes. This is a high density apartment. There is nothing like it on our street, on Ohio, on Rich. The closest thing is an apartment building, I believe, owned by the same developers, 18 units. This is double the size. When we say it doesn't fit the character of the neighborhood, it's kind of hard to see when you look at color-coded blocks. Come drive through. There are kids playing football. There are people out gardening. This building physically barely fits in the lot. See the variances for the lot coverage. I mean, it doesn't match. And the infrastructure really doesn't support it either. I'm not concerned about parking. Yes, it'll be a shame if I have to parallel. That's not really my concern. It's more about congestion, and it's more about the personality and character of our neighborhood. This building is very nice looking, and it will look very nice on Main. It will look very nice on Parsons. It will look very nice on any commercial corridor. I would also ask that you read the memo from NEAC Executive Board, because I think the characterization that their only issue is parking is also not fair. I think their argument is something similar to what I'm making, is maybe more medium density on these lots would be a better fit. I think we have a lot of people moving in. There's an opportunity for some balance here, medium density, single family homes, some sort of mix on these lots that are clearly on an interior quiet street. And then the high density pushback. Yes, it's only a block, but it's a big difference. On Main, on Parsons, on the commercial area of Oak. I don't know how familiar you guys are with the neighborhood. Yeah, our home was built in 1890 and it still stands. These buildings are going to be around for a long time. There's a big challenge for the city on how we're going to get this housing, but I hope we can do it thoughtfully, responsibly. I hope the people that move in want to stay because there are places to live. I hope the people that already live here want to stay in these neighborhoods and aren't, wanting to leave when these massive things come up in their backyard. I think that's all I have to say. I don't know if you guys have any questions. One last thought would be, if you haven't had a chance to drive by the site and you are even slightly unsure, I would ask that you vote no, but maybe another option would be to vote to table, go see. And I think you'll really understand why you're hearing from so many neighbors that really do not support the rezoning.
And let me also state that in our packets, we did see letters of you, your husband, and the people, so we understand.
Appreciate it.
Okay, let's bring the applicant back up. Thank you for your input.
Thanks.
Can I make a couple additional comments?
Sure.
So yeah, I mean, I hear that there's a concern about density and where this is. I would like to just suggest, obviously, if we pulled out just a little bit, Main Street is just to the south of the screen. Main Street will have density at some point. It's one of the, sort of corridors that's the expectation to have traffic and have some density there. I'm anticipating Main Street not to be 3-story buildings, but to be 6-story buildings, 7-story, 8-story buildings. That's truly where density in our city is going to go. This is absolutely correct, a block off of that. But to suggest that it only can be single family homes or much less density is concerning to me as we start to think about how the city grows. The only other point that I would make is I think that there are 7 or 8 lots here that are being combined. If we put low density houses on there or do what was done, 40, 50 years ago when this neighborhood was being built out, that would have, call it 18 residents, 20 residents, 24 residents. We're proposing 38. It's a bunch more. But theoretically, if you put accessory dwelling units on it and a 2 duplex house on it, you're going to get to some density there as it is. And yes, we're doing it in a slightly larger way. But we're also trying to create more density for the needs of the neighborhood and the city.
Yeah, to your point, I think this is a medium density solution, step down from what will be built along Main Street there, transitioning to the single family. And the scale of the building is just about the same height as the pitched roofs of the buildings on either side of it, the homes on either side of
You know, I'd like to pick up where John left off. It's been our history to look into these things, and the applause meters goes up, it goes up, gets to 50%, gets over 50%, gets more and more favorable. There's not enough here to drive that needle very high.
Okay.
Your intents sound like they're really good, and I think you've got a very good architect here. You, in my opinion, you need to have a stronger sales pitch to show some of these details and show some of this context. We are about to see a new zoning code be unleashed within a couple months, maybe 3 months, and it's all about the arteries. You mentioned Main Street, that's an artery, High Street, etc., all over town. You see it in almost every suburb, in selected places. And people have gotten used to it. But in our role is if it's reasonable, we're in. If we know it's reasonable, we see it's reasonable, and you haven't shown us enough to get that far. Now, maybe the day will come with this new zoning code where every project that comes, I want to use, you sat here for a while, almost every project carries with it a visit to city council with several variances about parking setbacks, locations, etc., and density. And the city's doing their best to work with people. I think this new code's gonna make an effort to make it simpler to go through the process and get a shovel in the ground. But they don't say, here's Main Street, and if it's a little further off, well, that's okay too. They've identified it already. So you need to have something that says it's still appropriate and show us why that needle should go up and up and up and up and tip over to where, okay, the confidence is there, we vote yes. So I agree that this thing has potential, but it's not really conclusive yet. You need to pay this architect some more money to do some communicating with pictures, in my opinion, just one guy.
And we're happy to pay Carter as much as we possibly can. Can you give some more detail about, can you give some more detail about what that essence is that you're looking for?
Well,
Is
you're
that
gonna-
more?
Go ahead, John.
Yeah.
You know,
John, Mayor.
I drive down 22nd from Main Street, headed north daily. I live at 22nd and Bride. I've been a resident there for 40 years. And I'm an architect, dangerous.
A lot of.
Yeah, it takes 10 architects to change a light bulb, one to do it, and the other 9 to tell you how they could have done it better. But, you guys have and then F&W has many properties in the Near East Side, and they take care of them. They're good. They're good, property managers as well as landlords. And to a wide spectrum of folks. But this building, the first time I saw it, it's gotten a little better, but, Rich Street is one car only, when there's 2 cars parked. You guys have a property behind, Salvation Army, I believe. That's pretty dense as well. But would be more appropriate here, and this building more appropriate, on Main Street first. So the Main Street is developing on the east side. There's a lot of 3-story, 4-story stuff going up. I think this is premature.
6 and 7.
In terms of the density for where it is embedded, and you're trying to do too much here, in my opinion, because the 35 feet is 35 feet as a take, and not something like Oak and Ohio, where, there have been some very nice development through there that's of an appropriate scale. I realize that it's just the zoning, and that you really don't need to have all this detail, but I'm just a transactional commissioner, and I feel that if there's a quid pro quo that somehow happens, when you go to NEAC and they're not happy, I've been in front of them many, many times over the years. You're not going to get my vote, and I would implore you to kind of take a look at this and tone it down a little bit so that it doesn't elbow your neighbors.
And so help me understand, I guess, and I don't disagree with you at the end of the day. It's hard for you guys to vote on something that NEAC has suggested so overwhelmingly that they're not in favor of. Their issue was this was needed to be more affordable. We can't do that. We can't go and suggest to them it needs to be, 60% AMI or lower. That's just not what our jobs are and what the necessity is. And so I don't know how we're ever going to solve it if NEAC, even if we make it prettier, we're going to not be at the point of being able to have affordability to these units.
NEAC approves the corner of Bryden and Ohio, and the condos there are going for $675,000 to $800,000.
Sure.
And they didn't have any issue with affordability.
We can do that.
Again, it's your marketing and it's your business plan, and find an appropriate site for what you're trying to do would be my advice.
We can build $600,000 townhomes here.
I think
What our goal was trying to become an attainable building. And so if that's the case, then oh, okay.
Do we lower the density? I mean, what is the density number
a
you
lot
have?
of it is at least for me and my read of the NEAC letter and the others and driving that area is it doesn't fit with that scale, that height, that massive is not, that'll be jarring. So that, I think, for me, the biggest thing was the height. And I understand that if you're going for the credits or whatever they are, that I think they require a certain height. Is that if I'm?
For storage.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that
And you're
gets into a problem.
You're at 60 feet
Yeah.
in this district
And you're,
request.
yeah, that's 60 feet and you're in a 35. I mean, it's just.
What's
Yeah,
60 feet?
60 feet.
Your request here is AR3 apartment residential district, comma, H60.
Yeah, that's the district, but that's not the height of the building.
Yeah.
The height of the building is
Well,
35 feet.
zoning,
We have to give you the zone.
So if you're not, that's what would be allowed in that space.
Okay.
That's,
if you change your mind and came up with some value engineering, then you might.
you could do it.
You go to 59, feet 11 and nobody can stop it.
But I think we still gotta come back. That's not the intent to go to a 60-foot building here. We're trying to create a
Understandable.
building that is attainable, and this is the most efficient that we can. We're not looking to go any higher. We're not looking to go any more.
You're looking at parking, driving. You're looking at parking, driving the rest of the building. I mean,
Correct.
again.
That's
you're
what the
putting
development
cars
is these
underneath
days.
And saying, how many cars can I get here?
And
Right.
I'm fine with
So
that.
how many units can I get?
That's the equation. Yeah, that's exactly right. Yeah.
I'm saying that it's appropriate in some places and some not.
Okay.
There've been, many times there's been people that made presentations and they kept more than half of their printed data stashed and hidden. It said, here's what you get to look at and make your decision on. And it wasn't successful because the needle wasn't influenced. You need to influence the comfort level with that needle, and you may get there without changing much, but you're not there. So a little bit more homework and a little more thorough presentation. And, I don't expect to be 100% in every project that comes through here, but I expect to be higher than I am right now this minute. So my recommendation would be to table this, go back, scrub it a little bit, come up with something that you can sell as befitting the neighborhood now, and maybe even bridge some time for what that neighborhood might be in 10 years.
Sure. That's right.
But you got to get there.
Yeah, that's a fair statement.
Okay.
Do other folks, do we need some other feedback? We'd love to get it.
Also suggest, if you were asking what we should tell you, as an architect also, it's good to hear to your client and then respond to it accordingly. But I think we are making false comparison between Main Street and Week Street. The Main Street is a commercial corridor. Week Street is residential. And the architecture you've shown is great, it's beautiful, there's no question about that. I think it could be anywhere on Main Street, but it's not sympathetic to the neighborhood. They're just looking at the area view, see those houses. So I think you should also attempt to make your architecture to be sympathetic to the neighborhood houses.
Okay, that's helpful. Yeah, that's
You
a good
got a
direction.
good architect here, you can do wonders. Turning Woods.
So I'm hearing from you guys, I'm hearing it's an architectural thing. If we make some changes to context, height of
It's
the
a
building.
it's a mass thing as well.
Sure. Yeah, mass as well.
I mean, that's about it.
Okay. And with that, we're gonna come back to see you guys if if we change that, are we ever gonna have votes of other commissioners if we still haven't gotten NEAC on board again? We're not gonna be able to solve what they're asking for.
I don't think we can commit one way or another to how we're gonna vote in advance. Is your question whether NEAC?
Do we need to go back to NEAC to get a positive vote in order for you guys to be considered? Not administratively, I understand, but.
Well, I don't know if you
Practically, I
got,
guess.
if you have that kind of time in your long range schedule, it'd be a badge of honor for you.
Sure.
Not mandatory.
Okay, that's helpful.
We know why they voted no. We sense that very surely, and we rely on them. We really rely on these neighborhood conventions a lot.
And we would love to do what they've asked us to do.
It's interesting that this height and mass conversation is coming up tonight because it did not come up in the NEAC meetings at all.
I can tell you, that's what I was reading through in these letters.
Yeah.
I was reading a compatibility issue.
These the neighbors'
I
letters.
did not read anything on
Affordability.
affordability, didn't see it at all.
And again, it was something different between NEAC versus the NEAC board versus the neighbors. There's two different opinions in the neighborhood right now about what to do, and we're trying to solve.
Well, in their recommendation form, they had multiple bullet points. Affordability was one of them, but it wasn't the only one.
Yeah. Correct. There was a request for a parking, traffic
Yeah,
study.
I can mention traffic congestion on street traffic.
You know, one concept you're gonna have to be able to pound down the size is the concept of intrusion. And I've over the years of doing this.
We get a copy of all the letters.
Yeah, I think it's done.
When some neighbor comes in and says, a new CVS on Whittier Street is great for Whittier Street, but I want to raise my family on Studer, and this would be an intrusion back to Studer and inflict dramatic negative influence. And so the vote went elsewhere. And I mean, Whittier could use a CVS and an investment, some money, but you just couldn't do it at the expense of what it did to Studer. So there's a balance that needs to be struck here. Even though you're not that far from Main Street, you've got to find a balance and show that balance and demonstrate it. Then we can make some progress.
And I would just say that you can't call this transitional. That's the problem.
Yeah.
If it was transitional, you would see a scale change. And it wouldn't feel like it was an intrusion.
Okay.
So I will ask the commission to make a motion to table this case until you have a chance to do a little more homework.
Sure.
Come in with some more surprises for us to either sell us the case or doesn't sell the case. You still have a project and you have to reach the goals that you have. But don't spare the ink and and save some effort, put the effort right out there in front.
Chair,
Yes,
because you guys are initiating this tabling, it's gonna act like a vote. So.
okay, so we need a vote
A motion to vote.
a motion, now we're undefeated, so.
Yeah.
John?
Oh, so moved.
Okay, we will now vote to table with,
I'm gonna call the roll.
okay, please call the roll.
David Carey,
Yes.
Maria Conroy,
Yep.
Johnny Griffin,
Yeah.
Caleb McQuaid,
Yes.
Chair Fitzpatrick.
Yes, okay, so you're tabled
Thank you.
for your next opportunity.
Appreciate it. Thank you for
Thank
the feedback. Appreciate it.
Yeah, I don't have.
I should just.
About 60 feet.
Yeah, send everything to add, super.
Yeah, I'm very interested.
There's like,
Send it.
Yeah. We'd have to. We're still in session. Oh, do we need to adjourn or are we still? We're good.
Yeah, we need to, all our things.
So.
All right. John moved to the table, we're tabled.
You know, it's right around the corner.